All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this special edition of Mentor Hour. My name is Solange, and I'm a senior executive in partnerships here at Ignite, and we're so glad to have you here today. Just a quick note before we get started, this will be an interactive session with a Q&A format, so feel free to drop your questions in the chat at any time, and we'll make sure to bring into conversation, and we'll make sure to bring those questions into the conversation. And also, please, if you are comfortable, turn your cameras on. Today, it is my pleasure to introduce Amnah Ajmal, former Group Executive President at MasterCard. She has been consistently recognized as one of the most influential leaders in the financial technology space. She's been named among the top 25 women leaders in financial technology in the US, the top 100 women in fintech globally, one of America's top 10, and most recently, one of Forbes Middle East 100 Most Powerful Businesswomen of 2025. Amna has led global teams across fintech, strategy, innovation, and more, but beyond her impressive career, she's also a strong advocate for human-centered leadership and gender equity. And she's currently writing a book, so be on the lookout for that. In today's session, she'll be sharing insights on how to grow ambitious ventures without burning out and how to lead with intention and values. Amna, we're so honored to have you with us. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much for the kind introduction. Very happy to be here. It's a wonderful program, so congratulations on putting it together. I think I usually benefit more from such sessions, and the interactive is the best part of it. So a little bit about myself. And this year in April, I said bye to my 22-year corporate career, 10 years with MasterCard and another 14 with Citibank and Standard Chartered. Having worked across markets in Europe, Asia, US, Middle East, and Africa, I thought this was the right time for me to become a founder myself. I've been a vocal advocate of supporting women founders, and I've done a lot of work in that space. And I do believe that it's not a level playing field when it comes to women in most industries, and there's a lot of work to be done by both men and women leaders. And if my voice and my actions can help to change the world a little bit, I would feel comfortable that I've done my part. I also feel in the corporate world, the higher you go, um, the the less you probably see the human element of leadership. The less you see those genuine connections being formed, and people being treated as people and not just as numbers or entities that are driving your business objectives. And that's what actually my book is also about. I'm happy to make this a very interactive session and just have a dialogue. I do not want to have like a presentation and talk about it. I think the audience would benefit more if I can actually make this a dialogue. So I would just hand over the floor back to all of you and start having an engaging conversation.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing, Amna. I'll start with a few questions, and as they go through the chat, then I'll ask them. Or if someone can
Sure.
raise their hand, they are also welcome to ask the questions. But to get things started, my first question is, many founders struggle to separate their identity from the start of success, or like you said, even in corporate, sometimes it's hard to separate your identity from the job's outcome. So how do you maintain your sense of self beyond business outcomes?
So I think it's very important to segregate your own sense of identity and your own sense of achievement from the corporation, because I think corporations are designed to create shareholder values, and of course, many of them are very human centric. They take care of employees, but at the end of the day, still, corporate is a corporate. So you need to have a buy-in as an employee into the mission of the company that you're working for, right? So you're passionate about the work, you enjoy the work. That's great. But that cannot define you and yourself and your purpose in life. So for me, it was easy to segregate it. I do know that a lot of people struggle with it, and even if they would talk about anything, it would just be related to their company products. I think every individual has a beautiful story. Everyone has something to add to someone else's life. And it's important that you remain as an individual. I remember once a senior leader at JP Morgan, she said that, I love the mission of the company and I come to work every day to contribute to the mission, but I have my own identity and there's certain things that I believe in. And if you can use the company platform and your personal time and effort to drive that, it's great. For example, my job did not include a mandate to have um, more women empowerment, to have more women in financial inclusion, right? But I made it part of my identity because I'm so passionate about it, and I believe that my company could do something in that space, right? I took that initiative. I did. I think that's extremely important, and it's not even a way of balancing. At times I feel that when people give so much to a corporate, there's a natural expectation that the corporate would give it back to you. At times I'm having conversations with my mentees, and one of the recent conversations that I had, not that recent, though, when I was leaving sometime in April, was like, oh, I work so hard, and the days goes by, like week passed by, I didn't put my kids to bed, and I'm putting in so many hours. Well, that's not something to be proud of. You should not be doing that. You should, 20 years down the road, you're going to remember this specific deal you signed, or this is the top line revenue growth you had. You're going to remember the moments that you spent with your children, right? So it's important, A, to have that boundary line wherever you can draw it. I'm very passionate about my work. I love what I do. I decided to take a 3-month break, and in 1 week, I was back to founding my own company. So I think it's important to have that line somewhere of where the company brand finishes and you as an individual and a leader start. Second, it's also important where your work and your sense of, if your entire sense of achievement is only driven by work, what if one day that goes away from your life? You would be so disappointed. So it's also important to have that balance of your social circle, your interests, your health, your well being, whatever you want to do beyond your work life.
So, my next question is related to this. So, I think when it comes to defining that line and that balance that you're talking about, oftentimes we have to set boundaries. So, my question is, how do you set and maintain boundaries without feeling guilty or compromising your impact?
I think prioritization is key. And a lot of time, um, people tend to do too many things, and you need to consider the 80/20 rule when it comes to impact. Um, every company actually has 4 or 5 things that are super impactful. If you're having a corporate career, it will help you get the next promotion, it will help you get the visibility. And then there are things that you just are doing. They may be contributing a tiny bit, but they're not as important. So, first thing is, if you're in a corporate, identify, figure out what are the 2 things that you will do this year that would really help you shine, that will give you the right visibility, and that they're really critically important for the company. That's very important. Second is, if you have reached a place where you're not an individual contributor and you're a people manager, it's delegation. You can't, and I think a lot of people struggle with it. I'm the only one who can do the best. I have to overlook everything. I totally believe hiring people smarter than you and then empower them and close your eyes and trust them. So that's another aspect of it. The last aspect of it is also understanding that from a culture standpoint, what are the kind of things that are really important you have to do when you're working in a company? What are the things that are like nice to do things? For example, there were lots of like whatever you call them, evening cocktails, and as a mom of 3 kids, I I was in a B2B P&L role. So if I'm already managing so many clients and I'm having breakfast with them and having lunch with them, and then on top of that, I also have to do additional socialization for like drinks and events and all of that. I have to draw a line somewhere. I have to think about it. Is this event, and most happen at kids' bedtimes, I have to think about, is it so important that I'm going to miss my kid's bedtime for it? If the answer to that question is no, then I won't go. Right? So you also have to manage that social life. I mean, uh, when I speak at conferences, for example, if I see that, the audience is not something that I would connect with, that I would be able to add value, no matter how much the organizers want me, I would say no. You know, so I think it's also about culturally adapting to the organization or to whatever your job is, and understanding socially what is okay for you. Because at the end of the day, time is time. It's one of the most valuable things you can give to anyone because you can't have it back.
Perfect. So we have the first question on the chat. It's, are there any daily or weekly habits you rely on to stay grounded, focused, and in control during intense leadership phases?
Um, I would say the daily habit, it's not really a habit, but it's like a part of personality that I don't consider myself as someone, I never considered someone who's holding a title or an authority. And I think that helps you to stay grounded. I believe that you get paid more because you're there to support your people. You get paid more because you can solve bigger problems than them. You can take more stress than them, right? So I have to in a way shield people and my team, right? So but that doesn't come with title and authority. The minute I enter my house, I'm just a mom, you know. I have to help my 5-year-old find a tiny piece of Lego that he's missing by looking under the sofa, under the carpet, everywhere, you know. Um, Regardless of the achievements and accolades you get, the most powerful woman and this and that, that's not your definition, you know. So I think staying grounded is more of a mindset thing as opposed to a habit thing. Being true is, to begin with, is a very contradictory word to leadership. You know, you're not always in control, and the art is to actually be comfortable, especially in today's time and the field that I'm in, which is fintech, finance, payments, to be comfortable with uncomfortable things, you know, to be comfortable with uncertainty. For tense critical times, the best thing that you can do actually is to, if you have it, bring in your sense of humor. I really believe that sense of humor and leadership um, are very importantly correlated. And uh, as a leader, you have a great privilege. You can make someone stay good or bad when they enter their house. So somebody can enter their house super happy because they had a wonderful day at work, or super stressful, right? That's an absolutely great privilege. So you have to make sure that you're surrounded by people, whether they're your peers or whether they're part of your team, even in a tough situation, and they're able to make jokes about it, laugh about it, work together towards a solution. I may not be in control of everything. I mean, but that is actually leadership. You are never in control of anything. Um, but together you can navigate a difficult situation, and you can do so without. I know some personalities who would actually, the minute the stressful situation happens, they would pass on all the stress to the team. Um, I don't have one of those styles, and my ability to contain a lot in me, and that also boils down to the amount of optimism you have in you, um, and your ability to think long term. So at times, in a moment, it looks like it's a crisis, but then you can think about the worst thing that happened in your career or to you in your personal life, and you would be like, no, this is a very small thing. 10 years down the road, I won't even remember it. So some people have a habit of like exaggerating small things, and some people can actually contain very large things and bring them into a perspective that no, this is not the end of life. I fall into that bucket. Now, I don't know whether it's a habit that I've formed or is this is just my personality trait. But I'm an optimist.
Thank you for sharing that. Next question is what? Hi, Amna from Harish. What made you leave your very successful corporate career and want to start something of your own?
So are you sure it's recording? Depending on that, my answer will change.
Yeah, we will be sharing the recording on our YouTube channel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, first 3 weeks of when I resigned because I stood on I stayed to do a handover. The question in every corridor that I was passing by was like, why would you leave at the peak of your success? Um, so there are two things. I think first is that if not now, then when? Uh, Someone said the best, the last time actually you can become a founder is 45, 46, right? So I think it's the right time for me. The second thing is when you're at the peak of your success, and I've done it multiple times in your career, that's when you should let it go. Um, uh, when I became uh, the country business head for Standard Chartered in Malaysia, CEO at the age of 32, 33, whatever, I mean, that's the dream job that I ever wanted. But I let it go in less than a year's time and completely changed my industry, came to payments, left banking. So I think it's about risking your success and just reinventing yourself. And the last thing, and that's why I asked about the recording, is that there's a lot of bullshit, honestly, in corporate. And the higher you go, the more you see it. And I'm not a great person at managing upwards. I'm a great leader to build things, to create things. But when it comes to sitting in committees and just agreeing and nodding your head for the sake of it, spending too much of time in things that really don't make a difference, that's not where my comfort zone is. And I think I had done really the best roles in different companies and different countries. It was time for me to see if I can rewrite my own story. If I'm successful, I think I create a path for little girls and women who can see, and hopefully men also, that you can leave your corporate career at the peak of your success and actually start from scratch all over again. If I fail, worst case, I would have learned a lot that I would have never ever learned if I had stayed on my job.
Yep. Next question is from Grace. Achievement is measured very differently from a corporate role than a founder role. How would you balance business results and startup agility in your founder's journey?
I do. True, it's true. Achievement is measured very differently in a corporate role, but at the end of the day, they're very similar also. At the end of the day, you have to make money. Investors are giving you money to actually make money. Nobody is giving you money for charity, right? So you have to make money. The second thing after the P&L is the impact, right? What impact you're having in the country where you're launching a business, in the economy, in the digital infrastructure, or the impact to people, right? And corporates also measure that, right? So I think yes, it's different because in corporates, like oh my god, like they would be 20 values, they would be crazy talent calibration systems and all of that, and as founders you don't have that. You Which is probably the best part. You need to get things done, as fast as possible. But I was always known for my speed of getting things done, my speed of bringing people together whenever there's a problem. So I think that has always been in me. In fact, I have resigned thanks to a lot of my clients who would actually meeting me and they would say, "Oh my God, what are you doing in a corporate? You have such an amazing sense of urgency. You're able to build great teams. You're able to solve problems with a sense of urgency. So why don't you start your business?" It was not a thought that I can take credit for. It came to my mind. It was really put into my mind by a lot of people. So I have always admired the agility, and corporates, in fact, at times would give you feedback. It's great that you have sense of urgency, but also make sure that you do not ask others for the same sense of urgency. You know, to slow down a bit, reply to emails in few days. No need to reply immediately. No need to do so many follow-ups, right? Um, as a founder, you don't have that thing. So I think my personality was more inclined to this, you know. I was not like a very typical leader sitting in my office on strategy and long-term vision. Like I was very much with people doing things, solving problems. Yes, I would of course have a strategic vision for the business, but it's not I was like expecting people to come to me with problems and solutions and impact. No, I would be with them, doing it together with them.
Yeah, this was very insightful. So thank you. When it comes to the next question, Harish asked, how strong was making money reason when you decided to start on your own? So how strong was making money a factor, the decision maker in your decision?
Not at all, because in fact, I've done the opposite, right? So I resigned from a high stock growth company. And at my level, you can understand what kind of a financial package I was having annually. Plus, I'm working for a firm that gives stocks to executives, which is in public knowledge. And, the stock performs great. So actually, you leave a lot of money on the table to start from scratch. So it's quite the opposite. You need to have the courage to leave that comfort, that stock appreciation that you see in your Morgan Stanley statement, the annual bonuses that you get paid. So quite the opposite. I think it's a decision the other way around, which you have to think in your mind that okay, this is what I'm leaving on the table by starting from scratch all over again.
Very interesting. Tasnim asked, how do you strike a balance between your volunteering projects and those that help drive monetary value? Is there an equation you use?
Um, so in volunteering projects, it uh, I usually try to work with organizations or individuals where I have a connection of values. So when I decided to work, for example, and now over the years, I'm thankful that she's become a great friend. But for example, when I started to work with Women Choice, like Neza and I connected, and she had this mission to create 1 million jobs for women. And that's super impactful if I can play a small part or a small role in it, right? um, there are many opportunities to which I have to say no to because maybe I don't connect very well with the individual. Our values and purpose is different, or I don't feel it's a best use of my time because I won't be able to add value. You also have to assess that. I don't think it's an equation I use. It's primarily connection with the person. I don't believe you work with companies, you work with people. And it's whether you are able to add value and you're able to measure the impact. Those are probably the three that come top of my mind. And there's some things, honestly, at times I don't have time, but I would just love so much being part of that I would take it on. And I have made mistakes at times. I take on a lot that I can actually do. I mean, the book I started writing 5 years back, I signed a contract with a company in the US thinking, yeah, of course, along with the job, I can write a book. Like everybody writes a book. No, in 5 years, I only wrote 20,000 words. I quit in 1 week, I write 45,000 words. So it can tell you, like, I have made mistakes of changing homes at the same time, taking on the project of writing a book, hiring an editor in the US to help me write a book. At the same time, coming out of COVID, my twins were small. So, yeah, you make mistakes, you learn from it, then you reflect and you're like, no, it was not really great to pick up so many things at the same time. That's why I kind of paused on my book.
I guess what you said at the very end is something very good to highlight, that it is okay to make mistakes and you will make them a lot around the
Yeah.
line, right? So when it comes to even this topic about burning out, it's fine to make mistakes. You'll learn as you go. But next question is from Ria. Hi, Amna. What has been the toughest part about starting a new business and how do you cope with it?
So I'm a person who takes a lot of energy from people in the room, right? So right now uh, I'm back from Abu Dhabi, so this is my home office. So I miss that because it was like my office door was always open. My team was coming in and out, and I had a wonderful team, amazing, incredible talent, and I just feed off other people's energy, and I think that's the part that I missed till I reached to a stage that I would have a big team. Um, And coping with it is hard, like I have this window with a beautiful view, which is not that common in Dubai. I see a lot of green trees. Um, I still maintain my connections with people in my circle, like having a coffee or something. But I think it's a little bit more lonely, because you don't, if you change jobs, like you change countries, you land up in a role. You have at least, I became a people leader very early on in my career after the first 2 years. So you always have, you're surrounded by people, right? You have your team, your peers, and all of that. I think that's the hardest part to cope with. Second, I would say, oh my gosh, not having an assistant. I cannot, like, simple things like accepting an invite and calendar invite when you already have a conflict. They're hard because you've had assistant and chief of staff for like more than decades. So those things are harder. But I think the people part is the toughest.
There's a very good question from Syed. You mentioned humor is a very vital leadership tool, and I wholeheartedly agree. But does that tend to undermine authority?
Yeah, I was so when I looked up in a very big role, and I was only 28 at that time, and all my direct reports were in their 40s. And at that time, I was also stupid. I was like, why do people work in their 40s? 40s is so old, and I'm myself in mid 40s, and I'm like, of course, all 40s old. But anyways, because one of the direct reports had applied for the role. They all belong to one country. Me coming from a different country, I look different. I'm brown, they're all white. I'm significant. And when I was 28, I looked like 18. So someone gave me advice that, you have to gain these people's acceptance and you have to make them believe that you are the leader. You have a great sense of humor, but please make sure that, you don't crack jokes in meetings because they're not going to take you seriously. And honestly, I took the advice very seriously. I was just 28 years old. And not every feedback that's given to you is a gift. So I don't believe that every feedback should be taken. Um, and for almost, I would say, 8 months, I was also given feedback, don't wear very bright colors, because I rarely wore black, grays, and white kind of suits. Um, obviously very colorful clothes, people won't take you seriously. But after a year passed by and I had built those relationships and bonds with people and connection, uh, I was reading my employee engagement survey and people said, "Oh, she's a great leader. She helps us, support us, da da da. But she's like a robot. We don't think she's a human being." Also, because I had crazy working hours, I could reply to an email at 7 in the night, at 5 I was in the office. So I just realized that, oh my God, they don't know the person behind the leader. And that's what they want to know and connect with, because I was not just showing my true self. Uh, and that day I changed and I was like, okay, I don't think that this was like the best advice that I received. And I mean, 15 years back, 18 years have now gone by from that incident. I'm still connected with those people. I'm following their career journeys. Some I recruited back from my team when I joined a different firm. Some have went on to become great leaders, doing bigger roles than what I have. And it's incredible to see that I had that kind of a connection with that team. But I had it because I had to let go of this kind of pretense that I was under.
So more of having that genuine connections and relation and being
Yeah.
yourself is what made it happen. Next question is, how do you identify if an idea is worth pursuing?
Maybe I'll give you an answer that uh, you will find hard to believe, but I go a lot with my gut feel. Yes, there is data, and once my book comes out, you would see those examples that I'm a very data-driven person. But there are times when data is showing me something and my gut feel says the opposite. So some people also ask, like, why did you leave London for Poland? Why did you leave Singapore for Malaysia? Why did you leave US for UAE, right? I mean, these sound at times a little bit counterintuitive decisions to people. Or again, like, why did you leave MasterCard at the peak of your career to become a founder? So I think it's because of my gut feel. I follow it quite a lot. Of course, I apply the 80-20 rule. I apply the rule that it has to be impactful. So if you're doing something that like impacts, I don't know, 0.1 or 1 or 5% to the P&L, or has a very little impact in terms of on the society, on the economy, on the people, whatever you're measuring it against, then probably it's not worth pursuing. But in my case, gut feel does play a very important role. Maybe not that early on in my career, but probably more so later on.
My next question is related to, so you've shared a little bit about your experience. We would like to know more if you can share a moment when you felt disconnected from your core values and how did you find your way back?
So there was something that happened recently also, but maybe the examples that I can share is when I was in banking and I was told to do layoffs because we had to achieve a certain cost to income ratio. So I had to lay off almost 300 people. I stand in a town hall, announce the layoffs, yet tell people that it's the right thing to do. The company stands behind you. And yes, we were doing a lot to find the displaced people jobs. Um, but I didn't feel that it was the right thing to do because at the same time, the company was hiring very senior, expensive resources in the headquarter. So it was kind of off, like you were telling people something that really wasn't true, right? Um, and I did that, and then it was also a very emotional experience because when you're doing layoffs, it's not really a positive thing. You're taking jobs away from people, and I'm talking about mass layoffs, so not like one or two people, right? So um, I think the way I found myself to reconcile with it, that I did it because I also had the opportunity to give people good packages because I wanted to quit at that time, and my boss told me if you bring in another leader at this time, he or she may not know the people that well, right? So the financial implications on people would be bigger. So I did it, but at the same time, I also decided that even though this is the job I really wanted, like I'm running the entire bank end to end, this is like 3,000 people I'm managing, it's a massive P&L, it really doesn't connect with my values because I have a growth mindset. I believe in abundance and all. So I was like, and I don't want to be known as a cost cutting leader in banking. There are many people who have made their careers by just going from country to country within the same uh, financial institution and doing cost cutting. I was like, no, I could build things, I could create things, I could put people together to solve big problems. So in that case, you just have to probably cut your ties and move on, and have that courage to leave whatever is on the table.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience about that. And I think, yeah, mindset really plays a big role when it comes to even building and staying true to yourself. We have another question from Idris. Sorry if I pronounce your name wrong, but she says, they say, in your recent post, you describe how family time helps fill your emotional tank and keep you grounded as a leader during a busy travel or meeting schedule. What strategies do you follow to ensure both work, impact, and family presence?
Um, so I don't know, Idris, if I'm pronouncing your name right, if you are a parent or not, but for me, I think like at times I'm in a plane and I'm just looking at photos of my kids instead of working on my laptop because I just met them, but I'm in a plane and I miss them. I just feel I'm so much in love with my kids. I'm sure every parent is, but I'm so obsessed with them. They bring such great joy in my life. Um, so we are a working couple. So what we do is, for example, we have each other's travel in the calendar. We discuss in advance. So far, there have only been 5 days in my kids' life that they have been put to bed by a nanny. We've always, one of us is always there. My husband would change his travel, or I would change my travel to make sure one person is always there. And now that actually I've worked more from home and I have like meetings outside, there are little things we do. Like, for example, I have this art corner in my office, and like When they come from school, I would just tell them, make an artwork for me, like my daughter made this for me, and then they would come and leave it outside my office. And then when I have a 5-minute break, I would write something on a small post-it, and I will, go and give it to them if they are leaving for an activity, if they're in playroom. I make sure I put them to bed. I've never ever compromised on reading to them since they are born till today. Strategy. It's more like Saturday, Sunday, like at meal time. Um, no phones allowed. I mean, at times I have to really pick a big fight with my husband because he has a bigger problem and let go of his phone. So now my kids point out, they're like, okay, why are you holding this phone in your hand when you're having a meal? Which is still great, I mean, they're still at that age where, like they can give hugs and cuddles and, it makes up for like everything in this world that can go bad, it's just so much worth it. So yeah, I can go on and on, but for me, my children, they just come over and above anything in this world. And bedtime, I don't compromise. My husband is in China this week, so I wake up to get them ready and to send them to work. And of course, oh my gosh, I think kids probably hate their parents at drop-offs. It's like the worst time. uh, my daughter threw a strawberry on my son's shirt. He wanted the shirt to be changed. I didn't have an extra shirt. And then asked my daughter to apologize. She said she didn't do anything wrong. The strawberry misbehaved, and my son was fighting. It's not the strawberry, it's you. So yeah, there are these strange moments, and you find yourself screaming. And later you're like, oh my God, they're so cute. How did I scream at them? So I just think it's like you can balance your travel, you can balance your work life, the little things for which you have to be 100% present. I never have my phone at bedtime, never ever, since they are born. Once my phone was ringing really badly while I was putting them to bed, I think 4 years back, and my husband was like, "Go, just take the call. Maybe it's very important." So I went and I took a call, and it was my boss, and he asked me about some event, which the call was in February. The event was happening in July, and he was asking if I've sent invites to my clients. So it was so stupid that it further reinforced my belief that I should never pick up the phone during my kids' bedtime. Everything can wait. And there are times when people would say 7 to 8 p.m. call and they're in Dubai. So I would say no, 8 to 9 I can do. Simple as that. If 7 itself is late, so if 7 works for you, actually 8 works for me because by that time my kids are in bed.
Just like Idris says, this was very insightful, and I want to touch on a point that your face just light up when you started talking about your family. So I would like to ask more about the lines of people and what role people play in your life, such as how have other people like family, even mentorship, let's say, keep you accountable, avoid burning out, and what role has people played in your life to pursue your dreams and ventures?
Okay, yeah, I also have 3 kids. I think people with 3 kids would straight go to heaven because God will not ask them any questions. It's a very tough job. So back to your question. Sorry, say that again. I got distracted by his comment.
Yeah, what role does people play in your life?
Oh, people.
Also, of course, family, yes.
So I think that I was very blessed and fortunate to work for some great leaders, mostly men actually, because of the industry that I'm in, maths work out like that, right? They're very male dominated. Um, but for example, when I was 28 and my boss asked me that, oh, you should go and take on this role. And I was like, no, I just have 4 years of experience. I looked at the job description, it says 20 years of experience. So it will be stupid of me to apply. And he's like, but what's the worst thing that can happen? You will not get the role. I'm like, but it's so obvious that I won't get the role, so why would I apply for it? And he's like, what can go wrong? The worst case is that you stay in the current job. And I think that gave me a great perspective. He was a leader who was a risk taker on people. I got that job actually, which was like beyond my imagination. But he believed in me more than I believed in myself, right? So I think it's very, very important now also when I'm a founder, it's very important for me to have those few people in my network, not necessarily people who are senior than me or people who can open doors for me. No, the people who really believe in me and they can uplift me. So I think that's the incredibly important thing. Like if I'm having like a bad day, I would like someone really didn't understand my business idea. Maybe I was bad at explaining it and I didn't do a good job. So I kept on beating myself. I think I just didn't do a good job. I didn't explain it well this time. I was like to a friend of mine, she's also in the same industry, and she was like, no, there are many stupid people out there. Maybe it was not you. She's like, tomorrow would be another. So I think people around you who uplift you, who bring the best in you. And I have learned that from people in my life that, there were people when I didn't believe in myself and they said, no, you can do it. And I was so sure I can do it. I was in Poland recently and I met the ex CEO of City who had given me a very big job. So when I landed in that job, which I thought I would never get, in a year, I also got promoted. First of all, I thought I would never get the job. Second, I thought if I'll get the job, I'll be fired. Not only I got the job, in a year I was promoted. And when they were offering me a promotion, I said, no, 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 let's do the job because how can I take a promotion? I have not even done justice to my current job. And I met that CEO now. We've been friends now over so many years. And he was telling me, I'm so proud of you that you have given up all your success to start from scratch. Not a lot of people would do that, but I know you can do it. You're the only one I know can do it. And it meant so much to me that, over these years, he has believed and he's trusted in me. And even now, he thinks that I'm the only one who can do it.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, I believe people really play a big role in our life. And I read a comment saying that, building a startup or a venture can feel lonely, but definitely if you have family and friends and people that encourage you, it doesn't feel as lonely. Um, I'm not sure if you read the chat, but many are interested to know about your venture. So if you can share, if not, we understand, but what type of venture are you trying to pursue or business? If you're open to share, if not, we can move on to another question.
It would be in the space of, it is in the space of fintech payments, AI, and open banking. That's all I can say at this stage.
Perfect, thank you. A question more related to the topic of today. What are some subtle, often overlooked signs of burnout you've learned to pay attention to, and how do you personally respond when they show up?
I respond personally for myself, or if I respond when I spot it in people.
I guess we can do both. Yes.
I think for myself, I gave you an example. If I can't do justice to the things that I've picked up on from myself, like speaking engagement at conferences, women empowerment, plus my job, plus 3 kids, plus changing a house, plus also write a book, and I failed. Right? My house move was delayed. The book never happened, and I was like, oh my god, like what a dumb person I am. I can't write a book, and uh, so that I've shared, right? I think a very of when I was in the US, this I don't know if there are Americans on the call, but I'm sorry, but they just think that everybody would ask you, how are you? How are you? How are you? Like this is always a thing. You're like, good, thanks, good, thanks. Even in the corridor. I just feel that how are you is such a powerful question if it's really meant genuinely from the heart and it's not done in a passing corridor, but it's really done, even if you're not face to face, it's really done in a one on one way, right? When I really look into your eyes and I ask you, how are you feeling today? Uh, I think it's a very loaded question, and most of the time we underestimate it and just use it as a greeting. So I learned to use that question in a very, very deep way. When I know that an account manager is going through a very difficult deal, it will impact his incentive that he will get at the end of the year, he or she. Um, and they're going through a lot of bureaucracy and they're very tense about it. It's not hard to pick up those signs, and maybe working in different countries, different cultures, actually makes you a little bit more sharper around these things. But somebody comes back from paternity leave, maternity leave, this person would be tense, and uh, I have this post that I would post it on LinkedIn. I just keep forgetting about it. That, when I came from my maternity leave, it was in the US, and most women were commenting on my appearance that, oh my God, you look in such good shape. It doesn't look like that you give birth. But what was breaking me from inside was that, oh my God, I had to leave a part of me in the house when I came to work. The hardest thing for women after maternity leave is to leave their child at home and come to work because you have been with this child for 3, 4 months, whatever, right? You don't even step out of the house most of the time. So no one asked me that. And it was just killing me. Like, maybe I am odd because I'm the only one who feels it. So, you learn from your own instances. And now when I used to work with whether women in my team or cross-functional teams, somebody would go to a maternity leave or come back from a maternity leave. I would make sure before having a meeting on that particular topic, I just ask them how they're feeling and share some of my feelings. So they're aware that it's normal, to feel bad coming to work, no matter how much you love your work. So I think having those conversations around how are you in a very deep, profound way. But the foundation of that is you can't ask that question to a person in whose life you were never interested. They would know it's not genuine. They would know you're not authentic, right? So having those conversations when you have genuine interest in people's lives. Like I would know even when I was managing large team size of like 60 people or 300, I would know that, okay, not all, my one down, two downs, and even three downs, I would know this person is very close to his dog. This individual is very close to her mom. This person is going through a divorce right now. Those things are important for you, but you can't have those conversations if you don't establish a connection first with people. If it's very transactional, it's better actually not to have that if you're transactional because it would come across as more fake. Actually,
Yeah, I totally agree. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's also experiencing living in America. Sometimes even the word sorry, it's also overused and not intentional in a way.
yeah.
Yes. Another question from Harish. Does the thought of wanting to go back to corporate life ever cross your mind? Do you miss the success you had with corporate life?
Harish looks like a spokesperson for the entire group. Okay. No, it doesn't. No, 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 it doesn't. I do not miss the success. I never tied myself to the corporate success in terms of businesses because as I moved and changed countries and changed companies, I realized that you cannot associate your sense of achievement with the business success. Because my successor, like I built a great mortgage business, and my I left the country. My successor came in and he said, "Okay, what a terrible idea to have mortgages, and he shut down mortgages. So what would I do? Like, oh my gosh, I built this business with so much of heart and passion. No, I associate my success more with people, the leaders that I created, the women leaders that I created, the talent that I promoted. And I know I have a bigger ability and a much more empowered way to create those leaders now that I'm a CEO myself. I also don't miss like 4 hours of meetings with 90 people, committees with voting. Yes, yes, I vote. No, I don't. Even if I don't know anything about the proposal, I have to say something just because it's good to say something. No, I don't miss it. I miss my assistant. I don't miss anything else.
We're almost getting to the end of the session, so I'll ask the last question from Keenan, which is, if you could go back in time, what is the one piece of advice you'd give to your younger self about ambition, balance, and being human?
I think I compromise a lot on my health um, for my ambition. So when I was living in Poland, I was diagnosed with IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome. It was primarily because of my lifestyle choices, eating crap food, not exercising, sitting on your desk 18 hours. And I think that was kind of a wake up call. I have gone to work, like strange things happened to me. I was going from London to Hungary. I ended up in Zurich on a wheelchair. A bee bit me. My leg was all swollen. It was infected. And I was like, so what? I still need to be in a business meeting in Hungary. So I landed up in Hungary on a wheelchair. Uh, so I think I've done those kind of crazy things, which I don't necessarily think you had to do, because the recovery from that is hard. Someone was telling me the other day that you only have one job to do, and that's to take care of your health. Because if that's not there, nothing else matters. And I did not do that. I always compromised on my health. That always came the last on the list.
Yeah, I believe that's personally my major takeaway. So that you're still able to pursue your dreams without costing yourself. So thank you so much for sharing that. I believe it's a good time for a close now. So I want to thank you, Amna, so much for your honesty, insights, and your presence today. Uh, it was an incredibly powerful session. I know I got a lot from it, and I hope everyone else also did. To everyone here, we hope that this session helped you reflect on how to lead with more clarity, humanity, and intention. And if you'd like to continue the conversation, you can book a one-on-one session with Amna through the Ignite platform. Additionally, I just want to say an announcement that it is that we're going to have a Pitch at the Hive event, Project Edition, coming up on June 30th. So just make sure to register on the platform before then. And lastly, we're going to put on the chat a survey form. If you can just take a few moments and let us know your feedback about the session, that would be great. But again, Amna, thank you so, so much.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful. And thanks a lot for all the interactive questions. Thank you. Have a good day.
You
Bye.
too.